Peru is
Oh, that was nice.
There's a dad and son the other day on the t-shirt. Very happy. Only somebody gave her triple XL. You can have it in your closet.
I think it's good players are sitting next to them.
Hi, good evening. Welcome to the village board meeting. It is 7:54. All trustees are present except trustee Aventa, who is excused. Has this meeting been publicly noticed?
We have been posted and noticed according to law.
Thank you. Our first order of business is a special order of business. 4A, to consider special event permit, temporary extension of premise, and short-term cabaret license for Shorewood Shenanigans, March 14th, 2020, from the bid. Bid president here. Hello? Do you want to say anything? Sure. Welcome.
Arthur Ising, 4105 North Morris Boulevard. Thank you for having us. So Shenanigans is a little different this year. We kind of went through a process of conversation, and I think the original iteration of the concept was to move the event back and forth to the village. That was Erica's original intent for Shorewood Shenanigans. So once Erica left, I think we all sat down as a group and we discussed what's best for Shorewood, what's best for the businesses, and I think our conclusion came down to be fair and equitable to everybody, we would just we would have two block parties. We went through the different planning meetings with police, fire, DPW. There were really no issues there. I think the bars that are represented are all happy with the outcome. The bid is happy with the outcome, and now we're here to present the idea to the village board.
And the residents, or the business owners in between on Oakland, I know that Rebecca had relayed to just speak with them or notify them that the agenda item is on today.
Yeah, so I sent a message out, and I got some good replies. Nobody was against the event. So we sent it out to our whole bid membership, which is about 350 businesses. And I think the open rate to that email, we were over half open emails. So nothing negative yet, no criticism yet.
Good. And just for the board's notification, the application for special permits has always had one box that says you need to notify the residents. And people have always traditionally put in the packet how they're going to do it before the event. But just to be clear, if you're closing down the street, maybe there needs to be some prior so they know it's on the agenda. If they wanted to reject, they could. So.
Yeah, and I think with Erica leaving when she did, and us not having an executive director, I mean, I've had to really get caught up to speed with what she was doing and what her plans were, and luckily I've had the help of all these guys and everybody here on the board. So, if there's things that we're missing we haven't done yet, I think there's still time to reach out to residents. Before this.
Yeah. And Mike.
And we were all on the board last year when this event happened, and I don't recall receiving any negative complaints or anything from residents after the event, which to me is like the most empirical evidence that there is.
Mm-hmm.
If there were problems, and I understand there may be new people that have moved in and might want to say something, but given that this was a successful event last year and no complaints from residents or businesses, I'm very comfortable with doing it again.
I did. I got complaints from two businesses, and it was just, and again, this is this is the both ends of Oakland, so perception to a driver may be a little different than last year's when we closed down one block, or 2 blocks. So that's the only reason I asked, and the businesses that did have objections were that because they were directly benefiting as a food and beverage, and of course, they all have opportunity to put out a sidewalk table.
Right.
But they felt that, the closure of the street,
And they haven't
Heard this.
objected this year though.
well, I think they
And
just
were on
sent
the
it out
email
today, right? You
Yeah,
just-
so, well, I think, I'm super open to communicate with any of those businesses. If they have issues, we'll figure out a way to, to make it right for them and to get them involved. And, I can't put shoppers into their business, but we can certainly do things to help them promote their business. I think with closing both streets and now having the capacity of all these folks over here, there's gonna be a lot more marketing this year. I think the bid's planning on a press release to talk about the event, and the big conversation will be, it's 2 blocks, so we'll have this block and this block, and I think, all the other bars are ready to help do marketing too. So I think the word, by the time the event happens, the word will be out there that there's 2 events. Not only that, there'll be a shuttle running back and forth to both events, so, people will be able to go to both.
I attended the meeting as the liaison between the 2 business owners, and I felt like it was a really good way for sort of both ends of the Oakland business district to sort of come together for what I felt like is or feel like is a good compromise. We came up with a couple of sort of some safety concerns that I think we hopefully have indicated in the packet. But, I felt like it was a really good meeting and a really good way for our businesses to come together. And I will say, we're the only community in the North Shore that are doing these events, and I do think that that's something that's really special that our community does well and is a little bit different than some of the other communities on the North Shore.
Thank you. I have some technical questions, but does other trustees or board members?
You sent out the notice to
That's
the
Connor.
other businesses today?
In all honesty, I've been working at trying to get a new executive director.
Right.
I've been working with the bars and the
Right.
village and everybody else to try to get the event,
Right.
together. And I think, I also have other jobs as well,
I'm
so I
just
just
trying to clarify.
there's all these, so that's my mistake, but they all do know now, so, yeah.
Your original application was just for the one site.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned about, I'm concerned about shutting down
Sure.
Oakland even in one location,
Yeah.
let alone both ends of our business
Yeah.
district. People trying to get to the grocery store on
Yeah.
a Saturday,
Yeah.
and where they're gonna be going all over to try to get to the parking
Sure.
ramp, and so just logistics I'm concerned about.
Okay.
Go ahead.
But just to be clear, Oakland is open between the 2 locations.
Exactly,
We have
yep.
a shuttle bus running, it's open.
But if you're a driver, let me just reiterate though, I think I understand, because I agree with Trustee Meyer, if you're a driver for a small business in between or a grocery, you're gonna go on Capitol normally, make a left on over or whatever, or you're gonna come from the other direction, and you're not gonna be able to turn in. And so that is gonna be a big difference than just closing one access point to a main minor arterial, I guess, in our community. I think that's the difference, is that you might.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just the not knowing, it's just change, and some people just get fed up with it, keep going.
Yep, so that's just one thing we're aware of, and we're gonna do our best to notify the public on best routes to get to Metro Mart and, the alley to get to Walgreens, that'll all still be open. So, that's just the trade-off with these types of events. But we're expecting a massive amount of people probably to come, I would assume, with the amount of marketing we're gonna do. So we're gonna have a lot of new people to Shorewood that'll learn about Metro Mart for the first time, and hopefully come back someday.
Massive amounts connect.
Not massive amounts.
No,
I-
there was massive amounts. The first year, do you know that, I remember David Price had a number of,
He had a number, I don't know how accurate that number was.
was it 5,000?
I would say it's in that neighborhood of 2,000 to 5,000,
I thought it was
3,000 maybe over the course of the day, yeah. And that's why we had to expand it. I think that first year it was too small, and it was just, people were just jammed in there.
What was it,
together,
one block?
It was one block, yeah.
Just one?
Yep.
And then the second year,
The second year we opened it up a little bit. I
How
think we
many blocks?
reconfigured a stage and just kind of reconfigured how the setting went, and
2 blocks?
1.5, 2 blocks, yeah.
Do you have a moment?
That sounds right, because the
Okay.
stage got moved back.
This, maybe it was more so how we arranged the stage and how we arranged different vendors.
Wait, trustee Buckles?
I'm a liar.
I have some technical questions
Yeah.
just about the application because it wasn't withdrawn. There was 2 separate ones put in. They don't always jive. So start time was different on the 2 applications, and I just want to verify what the start time is and when the bid, because you're running the event, plans to shut the road down for setup
Yeah.
and closing.
Tank, what did you guys put on your application?
We asked at 10 a.m. just for street closure
Yeah,
and to get things prepared.
yeah.
So whatever,
I think we had 9 a.m., 9:30, 9:30, yeah. So that was, I think the earlier we can close, the better, just so we can get things situated.
Event starts at what, noon?
Starts at noon.
Okay,
yeah.
so 10, and then it closes at
It closes at 6, yeah, 6.
6, so 7? Is that, what time
I
is it?
think an hour, what do you guys think for a tear down, hour, an hour and a half?
Doesn't get longer.
Yeah, good.
that hour should be fine.
Okay, so 10 to 7 should be the road closure?
Yeah.
I just want to make very, okay, so that was my one technical question. Bus turnaround,
You're able to set up 10 to noon should be fine.
Easy, okay.
bus turnaround, so I see it's gonna be basically on the Kensington Alley, right between Bartlett and Kensington,
The county bus or our shuttles?
shuttles.
Our shuttles will turn around right before Kensington, so, our
Mhm.
shuttles will turn around at Kensington and go through that alley and come back.
So my alley.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I just wanted to, I don't know if you've looked at logistics, I had talked to Rebecca about this, but a truck that has no plow parked all the way over to as far as he could go, and cars couldn't get through, it's a very narrow space. So I'm not, and is there a reason it can't just go through? Why does it have to turn around?
It's just going from one end to the other, so we just have to find the proper spot for it.
So it's not turning around in the alley?
It's because we have to go back to Draft and Vessel, we're gonna make a stop at Draft and Vessel, so it's gonna go from the Broad House all the way down Oakland and then turn around at Kensington, and we just need a spot to turn around to get back down Oakland and make a stop at Draft and Vessel.
But it's not just going through the alley. You're gonna go in and try to turn around, and go
Yeah.
back out the same access point. And can you just look at that as staff, or, just to make sure that that is?
If you have recommendations for a
Okay.
better
I just
show route,
I thought I had that right, okay.
totally.
So my biggest concern, I would say, is the barricades. Rebecca had informed me that the police chief, and he's here tonight, and so if I get this wrong, please let me know, but had advised. I saw in the application, even the updated application, the cover letter, that on the end of Capitol, you will have large vehicles. So that, I remember last year, if the board members remember, the chief had said, they don't want a car plowing through a big crowd. So it says it's gonna be there. Is the same treatment gonna be at the end of that block? So, like booking ends that block, 2 big vehicles, and then the same thing, is it gonna be, so at least 4 big vehicles?
I can't speak for the other side,
Well, you
but
need to speak because.
I know, I'm
Yeah.
gonna defer to the folks over here.
Yeah, I'm happy to come on.
Yeah, if you wanna, Tank, do you
Yeah.
wanna talk about what you wanna supply?
Thank you.
Hello, everybody, Paul
Hi.
Hackbart, 3901 North Lake Drive, Shorewood. What we do for our Packer events when we do the block parties is we always park our larger sound by design vehicles to take in the blocks for safety. I did that before it was ever required, after seeing stuff on the news that happened across the world. So that's something we're planning on doing on our end. I know when we discuss in the planning meetings, we all agreed to do that as well, so.
Ours was slightly different. We don't have the shuttles per se, but when we spoke in the original meeting with the police, they were okay with large SUVs, and we're going to bookend both sides. So
Okay, so vehicles are on 4 areas.
4 yards, yeah.
Okay, and then my concern is, most people think it's a street party. When you have bookend block parties, the typical human reaction is, they might not want to take the shuttle, but they may walk, because they see the other stage. So this is a very unique situation in that we're not closing the rest of the street, and I do feel there's a safety component to how do you notify really notify the participants that this is not a street party, this is 2 block parties, and that you should walk on the sidewalks, basically. Like, you're not walking in the street.
I mean, I think that would probably be apparent with the traffic on the street, but if it's not, I think we would, you know, obviously we'll make it known that these are 2 block parties, the street's still open for business. We ask that people be respectful. We've had such, you know, the people that have attended the event in the past have been very respectful of the streets. You know, but I guess things could change, so, you know, for us, we'll do our best at getting that out, just letting people know that the streets are open for business outside of the block parties.
And if people start walking in the streets, what is our mechanism?
We're gonna have security there as well. So we've always put security on either ends, just stopping people bringing anything they shouldn't bring in, or just kind of keeping traffic organised or.
And you know, we, you know, just you know, thinking out loud, we could also put some volunteers throughout, you know, kind of walk up and down that corridor, just to make sure things are, people didn't get lost, somebody's not, you know, doing something they shouldn't be doing, and, you know,
Just walk on the sidewalk,
just,
stay
yeah.
on the streets. Tracy Carpenter?
At the north and south ends of each of the blocks, there, I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, but there will be some sort of signage that says that there's a shuttle up, right? So I mean, in my mind, that would help people realize that there's a shuttle driving, that the street's open, and not to, you know, walk down the middle of the street.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that, I think having some sort of signage there will help.
In years past, we posted signs, talking about the shuttle.
Okay, and I only have 2 more. The first year, we had mentioned that it was too small, and I understand now it's 2 blocks at different ends. But where, the first years, after the first year, for the second year, I know that some board members had expressed that, you know, we wanted, the kids' area was too small, the local retailers, both applications seem to say that you're gonna do something with local retailers. I'm unclear on how that fits, like, are you coordinating that? Where is I don't have a good map of where those activities are gonna go, and if they're gonna go, they both say they are, and just, so the spatial reality of where everything's gonna fit, I'm sure you have it, but I just don't see it.
So for last year, I think we made the adjustments with the kids, the game, the hurling.
Yeah.
So we created, you know, kind of the way we arranged everything, I think it was more conducive to kids and better family kind of environment. I thought it was way more successful last year for families. So that was the complaint the first year, and I felt it too with the small child. And I think the second year it was much better, especially for families. Families are, you know, large majority of the folks that are attending dual strollers. And I thought the second year the layout was more conducive to those families. You know, with Paul, I think he's also made that commitment. I don't know specifically, you know.
Yeah, even at our packer party this year, we had a big bouncy house. I'm sorry, we had a big bouncy slide for the kids and stuff, so.
I'm just asking, I don't see a map of it, so where is the kids' activity residing on the 2 blocks?
I don't understand that.
Well, I do.
So so I think for hurling, the hurling was in front of Collectivo, like Collectivo.
It would actually make sense to push that further back, because now we've got to Glendale, which is a further block back.
Oh, you got one, okay.
Yeah, so while it's technically always been there, we just never have gone to that distance. So
There's a
it
reason for that.
probably makes sense to put everything on that side of the street, to put everything behind, because there's a bit more space as opposed to the craziness in the middle part. And that was kind of our plan.
Is there 2 areas for kids then? Are you doing one too, Paul, on the
Oh,
other
yeah.
side?
Yeah, we always do a good job of, for our Packer one this year, we did really fun slides for the kids, and a lot of parents commented on it, they appreciated that addition, so.
And the local retail?
Yeah, whoever wants to put a table, it's fine.
They're still sourcing vendors for all the local retail, so everybody, I think everybody on either side is welcome. You know, last year there was local retail at Shenanigans.
So this is one application, and I apologize, I'm process oriented, but most one applications are very clear on where things are, and so I appreciate if it passes tonight by the board members and it's not deferred, that you follow up with a map of activity like you did
Yeah,
for
definitely.
the whole area, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you
That would
know,
be
I mean,
fabulous.
with Erica's departure, and then just kind of me stepping in and do this and working with these 2 and working this whole thing out, you know, I don't want to say we're behind on things, but, you know, we were just trying to get this, you know, together to propose to you guys, and then, you know, we are all under the understanding of, we're going to now source vendors, we're going to, you know, find spots for them and kind of put that layout together now, and fit that puzzle.
I
So we're
understand, and then my
puzzle.
last comment, and then trustee Buckhorst, I have nothing else, is you mentioned in the cover letter as well as tonight that it's in the intent of the bid to switch ends for this event. I would and you mentioned that the feast can't move. If you're gonna switch events every year, which we did with the tree for many years before.
I don't think that, I think from now on, this, if we're gonna do this event, if the bid was gonna do this event, this is how we do it. We're not gonna switch thoughts. This would be permanently how it's gonna be done, through the bid, if the bid participates.
Right, well, I'm gonna tell you that I'm not gonna vote for this, because I don't think it's wise to have two block parties on either side of the business district on the main arterial. So, if for next year, if it passes this year, great, if it doesn't, my only thought is, and I'm sharing it with you, that either, as a bid, either switch all events so it's equal, but, I mean, this feast can move, there's kitchens at 3 lines, I mean, it can be switched.
Well, so right now, with the shenanigans, we're covering the beginning and the end of Oakland. With the feast, we're covering the middle of Oakland. So we're kind of being fair and equitable to all businesses down Oakland on that. I mean,
Okay.
the people that miss out are the folks on Capitol, so.
I understand. This event was always residing at the north end of Oakland Avenue, and so it's switched this year.
Well, the original concept was to go back and forth.
And I haven't seen those meeting minutes because they're not on our website for the year. So you will be getting.
Yeah,
those
I was
soon.
not a part of those meetings, I was not in the bid yet, so that was Erica, you know.
So I'll wait for those minutes so I can make sure that that was the intent. But regardless, I do think that doing that for one event and taking it away from the north end leaves nothing at the north end. This is a good compromise, I still can't vote for it. Anybody else? Trustee Bowers.
So I really appreciate the work, and I believe this is a great compromise. I think that in the past, we've had some perhaps unnecessary divisions between the north and the south side of Oakland, and this is a great way to encompass all participants. I also do feel that pedestrians and stuff will understand when there are cars in the streets and stuff like that, but I do appreciate that you will have additional volunteers, you know, in case someone is confused or whatnot. And I think this event has been great for our community for the past 2 years. I've heard very positive reviews from people of all ages, including my son. He's attended this in the past and really, he said, I've never seen this many people on the streets of Shorewood except for the 4th of July parade. And to him, that was very exciting. I always tend to support these kind of block parties, whether or not we shut down the streets. I think it brings so many great things to our village, including publicity, outside eyes, and new people to come and work, play, purchase a home or rent or whatnot, or enroll their kids in the school district. So I want to thank you guys all for all the hard work, and also remind the rest of the board members that this has been an incredibly successful event over the past years. I feel that the bid board has reviewed and gone through a lot of these things, and I do trust that, the members of the bid board are doing what's right by the business community, as is in their charter. So bringing this to us, I understand with Erica's departure, some things and not happened as they have in the past or whatnot, but I am completely satisfied and ready to vote on this evening, and again, I want to thank you.
Can you verify that for us? Did any of the board member have an objection?
We had David Price objected, as well as Lisa, because Ms.
And can you just tell me the reason?
I don't know Lisa's reason, and I know David Price's reason, because it was leaving the north side and going to the south side originally. So, obviously.
So that was before we all got together. And
Okay,
decided
and the
what to
minutes
do.
will reflect that, correct?
You did?
Okay.
I think if I can add one more thing. I think it'd be really short-sighted to vote this down. When you look
You could come
at,
back.
what's that?
If it did.
I'm saying if it was
did,
turned down.
you could come back.
Oh, I know,
The next
but hopefully we don't have to
session.
do that. Because I think it's really important to point to the success that we have had throwing block parties, that Three Lions has had throwing block parties. And if you've attended any of those parties and you look around and you see the thousands of people with their families and their kids and their dogs and just, everyone having a really great time, that's what community is all about.
Mhm.
And I believe Shorewood is community. And I think what's unfortunate is sometimes that the loud voices, the two loud voices, carry all the good. And that we should look at the good and not the negative, because there's so much more good than negative that comes out of these community events. And in a world like today, with everyone being so divisive, it's really important to come together. And these are those events where I think it's really important. And if there's one thing I can point to, is point to my reputation as an operator, the block parties, and point to these guys. We both do a really great job. And I think it's really important to point out that we never get complaints.
Andrew too, you guys, all you guys back there too.
I'm just saying we're short of that.
And I appreciate that, but I do want to recap this, that it's not painted that way. I 100% support block parties in the bid. I 100% do, and you know that. I've always voted for them. This is the one instance that you're closing two ends of a very major arterial in a business district, and then business owners got the notice today. So there's not a clear map, there's not a clear application. I am fine deferring the item for further thought. Staff is not giving a recommendation. It's doable, but as a public elected official who has heard from big board members, who has heard from residents and businesses last year, I do believe there was no reason to change this event. It was very successful, as Trustee Bockhorst has mentioned. We have the feast that goes past camp. We do have
So
other,
the
and
feast
camp
does not
party.
go past camp. So camp is unrepresented right now with
Okay.
their events. So with the original
Are we gonna
iteration of
change
the-
that? So my thing is, it was very successful and we built upon it for 2 years, and I do believe closing one end is very impactful to the residents and the businesses, but closing two, so I don't know why the change had to happen.
Because
I
we're
do-
bringing the
I
businesses together.
do support that's what the shuttle was for last year. I do support 100% having street festivals. Trustee McKay.
I support the event, I really like all the collaboration that happened, thank you very much for doing that. I noticed in the application, or in the memo, that there'll be, the police department recommended 2 additional officers, and I just wanted to ask Chief Nimmer how those officers would be situated, would they be roaming, or what's your vision on that?
One would be assigned to each area,
Oh, okay,
and then supported by our on-duty staff.
great.
Trustee Bowers.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to move to approve the proposed Shorewood Shenanigans special event permit short-term cabaret license from the bid in 3 Lions extension of the premise for Draft and Vessel Camp Bar Broad House and 3 Lions Club for Saturday, March 14, 2020 on the consent agenda. That's the,
Not on the consent agenda.
yeah, I was gonna say, scratch that.
I'll second.
Further discussion. I do want to know about extension of premises. That was my one thing I forgot.
There will be additional ones, so.
Right, and so, just so we're aware, first of all, if the board members decided to vote of no because of the additional road closure, please know, come back to us, with one side, if that is the vote, because I'm sure, I believe that we all support this council.
The bid already voted then for it to be a camp and broad house. So that was a 10-2 vote from the bid board, and
Right.
it is a bid event,
So
so.
then you could bring that back that way, that would be fine too, whatever you guys proposed. But for the extension of premises, I believe Rebecca you usually would like to see all extension of premises wrapped into your permit, correct? Into this.
One of, and I'll let Sarah comment on it, but one of the things that, Sarah has typically requested to come in, she has advised that there are remaining outstanding extension of premise that are coming in perspective to the fact that the petitions or the combination of the permits has recently occurred, that they should be submitted to her by January 28th, so that they can be reviewed by the board in conjunction with this on February 3rd.
Say that again, so they'll all be coming on February 3rd by the board to be approved? by the
Any
board?
additional
Any additional
Yeah.
ones,
So,
okay.
Going forward, once the special event ordinance would get looked at, that would be something that would get packaged.
So we'll have additional ones. And you mentioned that it's an application from you and 3 Lions, within 3 Lions. It's just, so I'm clear, the responsibility is 100% on the bid. Is this correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. So for advertising purposes and operating plan budget, you will collect all those costs as the administrator of the event and document them?
We'll collaborate on how we want to market the event. I think we'll work together as a group to
Okay,
figure out
I
how best to market.
And record the costs through the bid?
Yeah,
So whatever
definitely.
happens, it funnels through the bid, the
Oh, always.
applicant?
Yeah.
Okay. Trustee Maher?
Has the bid approved the expansion beyond the south location? This application is on behalf of the bid? Have they approved?
The bid board?
Bid board.
The bid board.
They have voted for
The
both
bid
locations.
board, yeah.
The whole board voted?
The whole board voted for the south location.
Okay.
We have not had a meeting because Erica is not
It doesn't
here.
matter, and nor did you notify the residents before today. I would like to defer it, but there's a motion on the table. Trustee Bowers.
I'd like to call the question.
Okay, so we will vote to call the question. If you, do you roll call? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? We will call the question. The motion on the table?
To approve the proposed Shorewood shenanigans special event permit, short-term cabaret license from the bid and 3 lines, extension of premise for drafting vessel, camp bar, brat house, and 3 lines for Saturday, March 14th, 2020.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. 4-2. Congratulations, have a great event, and I'll look forward to seeing you.
Really appreciate it, thank you.
All right.
You guys should all stay.
Okay, so our next agenda item for today is 5. Okay, consent agenda. Do I have a motion? We have a motion and a second. To be removed.
Good night.
All right, seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0, and I want to just thank the Public Arts Committee for being here this whole time, and also to Dick for getting those quotes for us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our next agenda item is a public hearing. We have none scheduled for today. So we will move on to citizens to be heard. If there's anybody in the audience who would like to speak on an agenda or a non-agenda item at this time, please step forward. Dick, are you speaking or are you leaving?
No, I'm
You're leaving. All right. So I do not have anybody that wants to be heard. So we will move on to 9 on the agenda. 9, new business 9A. Resolution 2020-01 approving the adoption of the North Shore Comprehensive Emergency Operations Plan. Yes. Oh, thank you. Yes, and tell me what the vote was. I did.
The vote was 3-0, Public Safety Committee, or 2-0, I'm sorry. 2-0 at the Public Safety Committee, it adopted the to recommend adoption of the comprehensive emergency management plan. Chief Nimmer can speak more to this, but this is something that brings the plan into alignment with our neighboring municipalities. And it's something that is standard across the
Okay, this has been a work in progress. If you look at the history of the North Shore Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan, and it's been the course of the last 3 years that we've been working on it. All North Shore communities have agreed to adopt this plan. I think 2 or 3 have adopted already. The rest are adopting this month, at the end of this month. And we worked collaboratively together to come up with the plan. And we also worked with Milwaukee County Emergency Management. They helped with the plan as well. I want to emphasize the first step in a series of steps. If you look on page 2 of the document, we have a timeline that after the North Shore communities adopt the plan, training will follow both throughout the North Shore as well as internally. As well as we're asking the elected officials over the course of time to also take some incident command level training, so you just have a good idea, a better understanding of emergency management. So I'll open it up to any questions or trustee one.
Sorry, I asked this at the committee level, but just so we have it for the record, and I don't remember actually. Who is the emergency manager for Shorewood?
I am currently been assigned.
What's the resolution of the plan? The plan was included, correct? In our packet, in the packet that just not in the printed packet?
Yes. Yeah,
Yep.
okay. At least it wasn't a link in the policy.
It was a link, okay. Chief, who was the So I got to meet with President Shaw from the school district this week, and I can update her in my village report. But who was the authority that asked you to come together and do this with all the municipalities in the North Shore? Was it a higher authority, was it ourselves, or was there a reason that we all decided?
Well, I guess we approached the village managers and they agreed that it was a good idea to go ahead and do this.
Was it came from the police chiefs? I just didn't know if it was like the state saying, you know, it makes sense, or the fire department.
From my understanding, it's been discussed in the past along the North Shore, and it's one thing that has come up and been a topic of note with the village managers in the North Shore when we have met, in terms of the ability to, you know, there are several new ones or newer to the scene managers who are kind of, you know, looking at different aspects, and so it was a concept that was explored in the past by Chief Waker as a recommendation from one of his credentialing of the department. It didn't do anything at that point in time, you know, there wasn't any specific action at that point in time, then came back. So we're fortunate that Milwaukee County also offered to come to the table to draft and actually write the document. So the emergency managers have been instrumental in terms of getting the information from each municipality to put it in one format. And we're hoping to make steps in progress, you know, as we move forward and continuing to build on the synergy of that relationship.
Excellent, so proud of that. And my only other major question is, when I was speaking with the school president, we were talking about compatibility of data. And I think my major concern for any, you know, with the 7 municipalities, and I don't know where it's addressed in here, I apologize, I didn't get to read every word this time, but I will. But is the major, I would think, benefit of having 7 communities being able to respond to other communities, whoever's closer by and has the available unit, is that you have the same data uploaded into your car or your vehicle, or so if there's a map of a building, you all have the same map. If there's a you know, exit routes, fire escapes, those things, as you know, from other emergency management plans. And I know that software costs money in order to be able to upload into vehicles and to create the map, you know, whatever, to go through that process. When is that implementation step going to be addressed?
So I'm working with our school district right now with a company called Critical Response Group, who does mapping of critical infrastructure. And part of this process, we'll be talking with the other municipalities to do that. It's not that overly expensive. It's about, I don't want to misquote, but $300 or $400 a floor of a building. And what it basically does is it takes what they used over in Afghanistan, special ops, and if you look at a picture, Barack Obama is in the bunker and they're doing a plan to actually take out Osama bin Laden, and they have on the table this map. And so what all these special ops decide is, hey, we're from different groups, like you're from Army, you're from Navy, you're from Marine Corps, and we're all talking a different language. And so what they did is they come up with like a grid form. So if I say you need to go to R6, coordinate R6, everybody looks at their map and says, well, I know where R6 is.
Right.
We're not looking for a different building. So that's one of the things we're hoping that school districts will buy into this mapping technology. It does cost money, but it is good. And then those maps can be uplifted into the computers, and then they can be brought up by the officers in the car.
And that makes sense, I think, for school districts, and the reason I asked what we're going to do for the municipalities and when is when I asked the fire department, just for the high school that we have, the fire department and the chief for the maps, they're incomplete and they're completely different. And that's just one, this is within our own municipality, and so I worry that, you know, Milwaukee's going to be responding to Village Hall if we're not available, whatever building it may be, and they're just not going to have the information to respond correctly. Like, it'll be dispatched, but I don't know how effective it'll be without the maps.
I can get Critical Response Group in here in a week if you want to pay for it.
Okay.
Literally.
Well, that's great to know.
I can get them here to map every one of our municipal buildings. They'll be here. They have a local rep that's out of Madison. He's a special ops guy in the Marine Corps.
But that would be for our buildings, correct?
And he can be here, what's that?
That's for our buildings.
Yeah, we can do it.
But
I
do
get
the
it.
other communities have that too, since we're doing a joint plan?
Well, I mean, we're gonna encourage them to do that, the emergency management group has been talking about
Okay.
using this, but I can't, can't test it, they're going to do it. We're actually having a presentation tomorrow to Milwaukee County Chiefs. CRG is coming to talk with all the Milwaukee County Chiefs.
That's great.
They've mapped Miller Park, all the school districts in Madison, and then across the country as well. They're big in New Jersey, they started in New Jersey. So.
Makes sense. And Rebecca, can you just elaborate, I know we had spoken a little bit, but just next steps, because training is one thing, but again, I'm more concerned with like data management and what is our action plan for implementation of this? This is very high level, and which is great. It's a start, but I know that you had some concerns too, that I'm just asking you what would be next.
I think that I'm gonna let him to kind of outline the next, the tenants to outline for the North Shore working with the SUP, and then what we as an individual organization of the village, our organization is kind of doing to help them into the process.
Yeah, so in the packet you have kind of laid out the next steps for the North Shore. So we'll be meeting in February and then coming out with an outline for training in the North Shore, establishing the training needs, and then trying to do a tabletop exercise in the North Shore. So that's the agenda for the North Shore. And Chief Whitaker from the fire department is taking the lead along with myself and Paul from emergency management. And I think the idea one day would be to have a North Shore emergency manager under the fire department model. I mean, I think that's kind of what we talked about, because we do have 7 emergency managers trying to do one plan. So the hope would be that maybe someday it would kind of make sense that under that model that's already been built, that they would have a part-time emergency manager that would train all 7 communities. And then internally, we're right now going over all the buildings are doing their emergency action plans for each of their buildings. They've all been given a template, and they're complete. They're meeting with their internal people, and they're putting together each individual building will have an emergency action plan.
Who is that? Who's doing that? Like, just is it fire and police?
Well, each building's going through the template.
Village buildings.
Yeah, village buildings, correct.
But, look, who is, my request would be that when we do walkthroughs or building maps, that the police, the fire, and the health department are all collaborating to do each building together. I made that request to the school district as well, just because there's different aspects of the safety organizations that all should be looking at the same thing at the same time. I'm just wondering, is that, who does those building evaluations?
You raise a really good point. I just think you're one step ahead of us. So we're at the point where Chief Nimmer has provided a building and a template for the emergency response plan for each individual building. And then there are teams. So for example, I'm on a team, and Tyler is leading our team of internal staff as we talk through the steps and how we want to document that plan within the template. Once we're done with that, then we'll be engaging with the police department as well as the fire department and health department to review those. And we've also discussed them coming through and then walking through with those plans.
Together?
Correct. They don't do the plan for you. So it's important that the people within each facility actually go through the exercise of documenting the plan. But then we adjust it together based upon good practices or whatever we see in the field. We've also discussed actually having Bayside Communication Center come out with some of the dispatchers, because if you can imagine, when you're dispatching to a lot of our facilities, if you've never been here to Village Hall, it's kind of hard to navigate where people are, and we, but with those will also come those plans. So it'll be an exercise for everyone to work through.
I appreciate it. My last comment is just, if you, only because it's really fresh in our conversation with the school district, the way that the plan is written there, and they're going to adjust as well, is that the police, the safety officers do the walkthroughs and so fire does it for their own inspections, but at the time for the emergency plan, it's designated that it's just the police officers and the school principal of facilities. And I'm just requesting for the village municipalities, it sounds like, that police, fire, and health department all play a role in the same, they need to see the same things. And so if we could coordinate those three departments for walkthroughs or anything, they all see something different. Fire's in charge of emergency exits, that they're not blocked. Police is in charge of making sure, routes or whatever, but they all have a different perspective on the same building. And so if those walkthroughs, not the development of it, but just the walkthroughs, would be very helpful.
And I'm actually encouraging the school district to hire a company to do their safety assessment. I think that's what's needed.
Yeah.
Because we're not building experts. I can tell you to lock your door, I can tell you that, this is the best route, but I'm not a building expert. And so in those discussions, we've talked about that. I've talked about that with the school district, and I've been pretty open about the fact that I think they need to have a company come in and really do it for the community's sake and have a safety assessment done by a company. And so.
Would you recommend that for us?
I
I think it would be the same. We're not building experts.
suppose we could talk about that.
I'm just saying, whatever, it's the same planning, so I think it's a great idea. Trustee Warren?
Sorry, thank you, Chief Newman, for the information and for answering questions. I'm ready to make a motion. I move to approve Resolution 2020-01, adopting the Comprehensive Emergency Operations Plan as the Emergency Operations Plan for the Village of Shorewood.
Second.
So a motion by Trustee Warren, a second by Trustee Bachhorst. Any further? Trustee Maher? There's two seconds. Any further discussion, I would just ask that any follow-up, brief us every once in a while on the actual implementation and action strategies, because I get a lot of questions now, especially as the school district is going through their changes, and I think it'd be helpful that we're kind of, any recommendation that, the President and I are talking about, that it be shared among the village as well. So, thank you so much. With that, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Sorry, it's a roll call vote.
Trustee Kender?
Yes.
Trustee Warren?
Aye.
Trustee McKay?
Yes.
Trustee Bachhorst?
Yes.
Trustee Maher?
Yes.
President Rosen?
Yes. Thank you for your work on that, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll go on to the next item on the agenda, which is 9B, consider organizational analysis service agreement. Which committee did this go through?
I went through, and
What was the vote?
we did not have a decision.
What did we vote? You just asked me.
We had asked to go back to the two vendors that we preferred, or were preferred, and ask them to kind of re-propose. Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong, or speaking incorrectly. And we had another meeting this past week, the people who were on the interview committee, to discuss, and we still felt, to be honest, either vendor would be suitable and would work well with the village. So we had decided to bring it to full board to kind of wrap up the conversation and go from there. So there was not an actual recommendation to bring it up.
I'll let Tyler speak 1 second. I do remember, just to add on to that, at committee, there was a strong preference, and correct me if I'm wrong, by the committee chair, but that of who the vendor would be if we had additional detail that made sense to the board. And